Have you ever noticed how, as we age, the signs that life is approaching its end begin to manifest themselves in subtle ways? Many people believe that death in old age happens suddenly, but the reality is that the body often sends silent warnings months, even a year, before we reach our final stage. The problem is that, at first, these signs are easy to ignore. They seem small, insignificant. However, looking back, many families realize that the signs were there all along, but it is too late to prepare. In this video, we will explore 5 vital signs that usually appear in the year before the death of a loved one. Some of them may be something you've noticed but dismissed as simple aging. Others may be changes that seem small but are actually signs of the body's gradual decline. Identifying these signs early can give you the opportunity to provide better care, enjoy the moments more fully, and ensure that the last phase of your loved one's life is lived with care, dignity, peace, and comfort. Stay with us until the end, as these signs could be the key to preparing you emotionally and practically for what's to come. When you understand what's happening, you won't be caught off guard. You will be able to make the most of the time you have left with those you love. Sign 1. Significant weight loss. One of the first and most telling indications that a person may be entering the last year of their life is unintentional weight loss. It can start very discreetly. A belt that needs to be tightened more often, clothes that become looser, or a loss of appetite that becomes more evident. Many families attribute this to aging, but losing weight unintentionally is rarely a good sign. This often indicates that the body is no longer absorbing nutrients effectively, muscle mass is decreasing, and vital systems are beginning to slow down. Aging naturally causes a loss of muscle mass, but when this happens very quickly, it is a sign that something deeper is going on. The body may be having difficulty digesting food properly, or the person can no longer process proteins efficiently, which leads to muscle wastage. This loss of strength not only makes movement difficult, but also increases the risk of falls, weakens the immune system, and makes the body more susceptible to infections. Another reason for weight loss in the last years of life is changes in appetite. Many older people simply don't feel hungry in the same way as they used to. The taste for food is lost, and they begin to skip meals or eat much smaller portions. This is not just a matter of preference. It is a physiological change. The body, when it realizes that it is beginning to prepare for the end, does not send frequent hunger signals to the brain, which results in less energy and strength, as well as a general drop in health. If you notice that a loved one is losing significant weight, especially if they are eating less, feeling weaker, or having difficulty staying active, it's time to pay attention. This is not just a physical change, but a message from the body. Understanding this now can help you prepare for what lies ahead with clarity and compassion, making the most of your remaining moments in meaningful ways. Sign 2. Extreme fatigue and weakness. One of the most striking changes in the year before the end of a person's life is deep and persistent tiredness that does not improve with rest. This is not common tiredness, but a deep exhaustion that makes even the simplest tasks become a great effort. Getting out of bed becomes a challenge. Walking from one place to another requires effort, and activities that were previously routine, such as cooking, getting dressed, or even holding a conversation, become exhausting. This type of tiredness is not just a natural effect of aging, but rather a sign that the body is beginning to reserve its energy as organ functions begin to slow down. The body begins to prioritize what is most essential for survival. The heart does not pump as efficiently, circulation becomes weaker, and the muscles do not receive the same level of oxygen as before. This is what explains the fact that many older people, in their last months of life, feel weak, unstable, and unable to sustain the same level of activity as before. Slowing metabolism is also a key factor. The body is designed to produce and use energy, but as it prepares for the final phase, this energy is redirected toward preservation rather than being used for movement. Therefore, people in decline may start to sleep more, need long naps during the day, and find it more difficult to stay awake for long periods. In some cases, they may even experience sudden drops in energy, looking fine one moment and completely exhausted the next. But perhaps the most painful part of this process is the emotional impact of fatigue. Many seniors who were once proud of their independence begin to feel frustrated or even embarrassed because they are unable to do what they once did. They may withdraw from conversations, avoid social interactions, or stop engaging in hobbies, not because they don't care, but because they simply don't have the energy anymore. This can lead to a cycle of isolation, which only accelerates the decline. For families watching a loved one go from active and engaged to exhausted and isolated, it can be heartbreaking. It's easy to assume that someone is being lazy or that they need to force themselves to do more, but the reality is that forcing activity won't help. The most important thing is to understand their limits, allowing rest when necessary, and making their last days as comfortable as possible. Sign 3. Cognitive confusion or withdrawal. As a person approaches the final phase of their life, one of the most evident changes can be seen in how they think, communicate, and interact with others. You may notice that someone who was once sharp and engaged begins to forget things more frequently, has trouble following conversations, or seems disoriented in familiar places. They may repeat themselves, forget names, or lose track of time, even if they have never had memory problems before. These subtle cognitive changes can occur months or even a year before death. This is not just everyday forgetfulness. The brain, like any other organ, needs a constant flow of oxygen and nutrients to function properly. But as circulation weakens and oxygen supply to the brain decreases, cognitive function begins to decline. The person may become easily confused, have difficulty making decisions, or have difficulty recognizing people or places they have known for years. In some cases, she may even have brief moments of lucidity followed by sudden episodes of confusion, almost as if the mind is intermittently going out and coming back. Another common sign is emotional withdrawal. Someone who is approaching the end of their life may lose interest in social interactions. You may notice that they talk less, interact less, or spend long periods of time simply sitting in silence. It's not that they don't care about their loved ones, but their brains no longer process emotions and engagement in the same way. Conversations become tiring, noisy environments seem overwhelming, and eventually many seniors retreat into their own world. Additionally, changes in mood and behavior may occur. Some people become more irritable, anxious, or easily frustrated. Others seem calmer, more distant, or indifferent to things that were once important to them. This is not just a personality change, but rather a consequence of the brain adjusting to the body's decline. As cognitive function declines, it becomes more difficult for a person to express their emotions, and they may no longer react to situations in the same way as before. For families, this phase can be especially difficult. Seeing a loved one lose touch with reality or withdraw emotionally can feel like a loss even before they are gone. But it's important to remember that this is not something they can control. Instead of trying to bring them back into conversations, the best thing you can do is be with them in the moment, speak softly, offer comfort, and understand that even if they don't always respond, they can still feel your presence. If a loved one is becoming more forgetful, more confused, or less engaged, don't ignore it. These are early signs that the body and mind are preparing for the final transition. Sign 4. Frequent infections and slow healing. As the body begins to prepare for its final stage, one of the clearest signs can be seen in a weakened immune system. You may notice that someone who rarely got sick starts catching every cold, flu, and minor infection that pops up around them. Illnesses that would once have been simple now take much longer to heal, and small injuries, such as a cut or bruise, can take much longer to heal. These signs are not random, but indicate that the body is no longer able to defend itself or repair itself in the same way. One of the biggest concerns is the recurrence of infections, such as pneumonia, urinary tract infections, UTIs, skin infections, and even oral infections. Many families assume that these are isolated illnesses, but when they begin to occur frequently or take a long time to improve, it is a sign that the body no longer responds in the same way. Frequent infections may not even manifest in the traditional way we expect, like a high fever. Instead, the elderly person may simply seem more tired than usual, more confused, or less interested in eating. This is particularly important as for the elderly, a sudden drop in mental clarity can be the first sign of infection, well before other symptoms appear. This can be confusing and worrying for families, who often try to resolve the problem with more medication or more hospital visits. However, it is critical to understand that in many cases, the focus must shift from trying to cure the infection to ensuring the person's comfort and well-being, minimizing stress and prioritizing gentler care such as hydration, skincare, and emotional support. If you notice that your loved one is having recurring infections or is taking a long time to recover from something simple, it's time to reflect on the overall health of their immune system and what can be done to provide comfort during this time. Sign 5. Significant changes in breathing or circulation. One of the most revealing changes that the body is preparing for the final phase is the change in breathing patterns and blood circulation. You may notice that your loved one is breathing more slowly or shallowly than before. Sometimes there may be pauses between breaths or breathing may become irregular, speeding up and slowing down unexpectedly. In some cases, they may begin to breathe rhythmically and smoothly, alternating between rapid breaths and long breathless intervals, a pattern known as Cheyne-Stokes breathing. Other changes include decreased circulation to the extremities. Your hands, feet, and even your ears and nose may start to feel colder to the touch. Skin may appear pale, bluish, or blotchy, especially around the fingers and toes, as the body begins to prioritize blood flow to vital organs. This is a clear sign that the heart is no longer pumping as hard as before. Some people may also begin to feel short of breath with even minimal activities, such as standing, talking, or changing positions. They may need to stop and catch their breath during a conversation or when trying to move. If before they were able to walk easily around the house, now they may have difficulty even getting up from a chair. These changes in breathing and circulation can be disconcerting for families, especially when trying to help by encouraging them to breathe deeply or seeking an immediate solution. However, in many cases, this is just a natural part of the body slowing down. The focus at this moment should be on comfort. Keeping the environment cool, using a humidifier, or offering small sips of water can alleviate some of the breathing difficulties. In some cases, oxygen therapy or medication may help provide relief, but the focus will always be on comfort, not cure. If you notice that your loved one is having difficulty breathing or circulation, take this as a sign that the body is conserving energy and vital functions are slowing down. This is the time to be present, offer comfort, and create a calm, safe environment so they feel at ease. As we come to the end of this video, reflect on the signs we discussed. Significant weight loss, extreme fatigue, cognitive confusion or emotional withdrawal, frequent infections and slow healing, and changes in respiratory and circulatory functions. These 5 signs often appear in the year before an elderly person passes away. They may not occur all at once and may not be obvious at first, but when you start to notice these signs, it is an indication that the body is preparing for the final transition. For many families, these changes can be difficult to accept. It's natural to want to fight them, to try to convince your loved one to eat more, move more, or overcome exhaustion. But sometimes the best thing we can do is listen to their body. Instead of focusing on reversing the inevitable, we can focus on making the remaining days as comfortable and meaningful as possible. Understanding these signs is not about fearing death, but about being prepared for it. When you recognize these signs early, you can provide better care, make important decisions sooner, and ensure that the last months or weeks of your loved one's life are filled with love, dignity, and comfort. This is a time to enjoy every conversation, to create peaceful memories, and to show them how valuable they are and how they are not alone. If you're noticing these signs in someone close to you, take a deep breath and remember that you're not alone on this path. Many families have been through this journey before, and while it's never easy, knowing what to expect can help you find strength, patience, and peace. Thank you for being with us today. We'd love to hear what you learned from this video. Leave a comment below sharing your thoughts and how you plan to use this information in your life. Your thoughts are very important to us, and we read them all with great affection. If you liked the video, like, share, and subscribe to continue receiving content that informs and inspires. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.